This DS3 Cabrio is anything but a conventional convertible, but then that's exactly why you might buy one. A light refresh over the original Citroën badged version has added fresh engine options, more media connectivity and greater scope for individuality. As before, you don't get a full-blown folding roof, but then neither do you get the usual compromises in rear seat and luggage space, and there are no speed restrictions on soft top use. If you thought you could neither justify or afford a cabriolet, then this car aims to make you think again.
The small, affordable cabriolet. That's a lovely idea in principle. Inexpensive, open-roof motoring for those rare occasions when the sun makes an appearance. In practice, though, there are often frustrating compromises to be made in a car of this kind. Here's one, though, that doesn't require you to make too many. The DS3 Cabrio. Let's explain. Wouldn't it be nice if a model of this sort didn't buffet you roof down and shimmy over bumps? Wouldn't it be neat if you could react instantly to the weather and retract the top at almost any speed? Wouldn't it be good if you could actually fit 3 people in the back if need be, and more than a token amount of luggage? Now, none of the cars which most readily come to mind as affordable open tops, say the MINI Convertible, the Fiat 500c, or even the Mazda MX-5, can satisfy on all these counts. This one can. No, it's not a full-blown convertible, but then the French DS brand argues that to be a good thing. The resultant design better suited to the enjoyment of our testing roads and changeable climate. It was first introduced in 2013, back then bearing Citroën badges. Since that time, though, the PSA Group has launched DS as a unique standalone premium brand and upgraded previous Citroën DS models like this one to sit comfortably within the new marque's growing product portfolio. Hence the relaunch of this car as a DS3 Cabrio in the spring of 2016. So, the badge on the bonnet is now different, and much else is too. Smarter styling is complemented by the addition of 2 fresh engines to the lineup, including one for the kind of properly potent top performance variant the mainstream model range has never had. There's also more equipment, extra scope for personalisation, and inside, extra media connectivity via a smartly high-tech 7-inch colour touchscreen. Will it all be enough, though, to keep this car current in the face of a much improved crop of fashionable rivals? Let's find out. We can't really understand why anyone would criticise this car for not being a proper convertible. And if you did, then we'd wonder whether you'd really ever properly driven a small, affordable 4-seater cabriolet with a completely open soft-top design, say a MINI Convertible, for instance. Those that have will know that there simply isn't enough bulk in something as small as this to fully eradicate all the shimmies and shakes that have long afflicted cars of this sort. Now, you don't feel them too much in a brand new model, but believe me, they get much worse as it grows older. All of which, in this part of the convertible market at least, for us, makes this Citroën's retractable ceiling approach a very effective way to go. On paper, you might be tempted to view this kind of folding soft top as little more than a giant sunroof, but in practice, it's much more than that. True, you never get the full wind in the hair feeling that you would in a classic conventional cabriolet lacking these fixed side panels, but there's quite enough exposure to the elements in this fully open position to give you that real cabrio feeling. Although buffeting is reduced because you're hidden from the blustery conditions. We should also point out that, as with any proper convertible, rearward vision with the roof down is pretty awful, hence the standard fitment here of rear parking sensors. Our favourite feature, though, relates to the way that this roof allows you to instantly react to the conditions you're driving in. So, for example, you're roofed down on a motorway in a rival Fiat 500c or MINI Convertible and the heavens suddenly open. Well, just as you would in pretty much any drop top, you're going to get wet. The Fiat's roof only operates at speeds below 37 miles an hour, while the Mini's only works below 18 miles an hour, which means in these cars that putting up the top either has to wait until you reach the next junction, wet and frustrated, or you have to stop in a potentially dangerous position on the hard shoulder and wait for the roof mechanics to do their thing as the raindrops pound down on your head. With this DS3, there's none of that. Press this little button on the overhead console and you can open or close the roof in just 16 seconds at any speed up to 75 miles an hour. Now, when the roof is closed, refinement is near on as good as it is in the fixed top DS3. And when things brighten up a bit or you find yourself on a slower road, another jab on that roof button can open things up again to various fixed positions or anywhere you like in between. As the roof opens, a standard pop-up deflector at the front of the windscreen flips up to reduce turbulence in the cabin. And this is a feature first introduced on Mercedes E-Class Cabriolet, a car twice this one's price. And you can go further still by fitting an air deflector net. Enough though on the roof. What's this car like to drive? Well, the cockpit positioning helps with a sculpted seat that's set sporty and low. And ahead of you, the compact steering wheel feels just right, and all the vital dials are set in a deeply cowled chrome-edged triple pod. At speed, it's hard to believe that all the underpinnings of this car are basically borrowed from a conventional Mark II model Citroën C3 Super Mini dating back to 2009. The lower body and the stiffer suspension setup gives this model a very different feel, as does the precisely weighted electric power steering, offering assistance when you need it and plenty of road feel when you don't. The damping also offers the best of both worlds, making you aware of bumpy surfaces but spiriting away the aftershock that you can do without. It makes some MINI convertibles we've driven feel about as subtly sprung as a go-kart. Only the rather long throw gear change on this DS could be slicker. Under the bonnet, there's a wide choice of engines. If performance isn't an issue, then the base petrol 3-cylinder 1.2 PureTech 100 bhp unit may be sufficient, making 62 miles an hour in 9.6 seconds en route to just 118 miles an hour. From this point, there are two fresh further options for petrol people in this revised range. The first of these is the opportunity to order the PureTech 110 power plant with the PSA Group's impressively efficient EAT6 automatic gearbox. Now, if you want auto transmission in the DS3 Cabrio, this is the engine that you have to have. Second is the addition to the range of the PureTech turbo engine and a Pokia 130 bhp state of tune, in which guise it makes 62 miles an hour in 9 seconds en route to 126 miles an hour. The addition of that PureTech 130 engine to the lineup is significant, as for most petrol buyers, the availability of this unit will make it unnecessary to stretch up to the Pokia 1.6-litre THP turbo units that you previously had to have if you wanted your DS3 Cabrio to have really vivacious performance. In some ways, that's a pity because the THP units in question are much better than they used to be, tweaked for extra power and efficiency. Take the 165 bhp unit, which makes 62 miles an hour in 7.6 seconds en route to 135 miles an hour, yet when driven more sedately is supposed to be capable of over 50 miles per gallon on the combined cycle. A 208 brake horsepower version of that same THP engine is used in the fastest hot hatch performance version. This is the first time that the standard model range has had a proper GTI derivative, and to celebrate, the DS engineers have done the job properly, lowering the suspension by 15mm, widening the track, fitting larger front and rear brake discs, and adding in a Torsen limited slip differential for extra traction through the bends. And you'll make good use of all this too if you exercise sprightly performance that'll see 62 miles an hour flash by in just 6.5 seconds on the way to 143 miles an hour. As for diesel power, well, there's a choice of two versions of the PSA Group's usual 1.6-litre Blue HDI engine. The lesser Blue HDI 100 power plant gets you to 62 miles an hour in 11.2 seconds en route to 113 miles an hour. Ideally, though, you want to try and stretch to the engine that offers a better balance of power and parsimony, the Blue HDI 120 unit that we're trying here. This manages rest to 62 miles an hour in 9.3 seconds on the way to 118 miles an hour, while still retaining the potential to deliver less than 95 grams per kilometre of CO2 and nearly 80 miles per gallon on the combined cycle. Very impressive. Now, plenty of trendy, eager small cars can match the kinds of performance figures I've just quoted for variants across the DS3 Cabrio range. Few, though, can match the way that this car balances comfort with a can-do attitude when it comes to attacking your favourite B-road. When you have to venture out onto the highway, base diesel and petrol models will be louder at cruising speeds than their pokier counterparts, as their gearboxes are limited to 5 speeds rather than 6. Overall, though, it's a strong dynamic showing. This design is ageing well. You'd be forgiven for not realising this to be a Cabrio at first glance. After all, the profile of this model is identical to that of its fixed-top counterpart, which means you get the same cool shark fin B-pillar and the same sculpted front end with its distinctive LED light signature. What you don't get is a load of unwanted extra ballast. Some rival small Cabrios can feature up to 100 kilograms of it to try and stop the body shaking over bumps. That's something this DS3 simply doesn't do, thanks to these fixed side panels. While stiffness is lost due to the canvas top, has been regained by replacing the hatch model's flimsy rear parcel shelf with steel braces that have added a mere 25 kilograms to the overall curb weight. The move to full DS branding has brought with it the opportunity to restyle the front end, where the vertical grille now proudly incorporates the DS Wings brand logo and extends smoothly into headlights that feature LED Vision Xenon technology on plusher variants like this one. Designed to resemble jewels, these lamps incorporate scrolling indicators, and they deliver a unique lighting signature that the brand plans to extend right across its future model range. There are also LED daytime running lights, and top variants have these LED front fog lamps too. At the back, there are equally distinctive 3D LED light clusters, and the whole effect is completed by these chromed exhaust pipes. Like a Mini, there's endless possibilities for personalisation. Even your key is matched to the paintwork. And there's plenty of scope for your car to be personalised to a wide range of preferences. I take the roof. In this case, it's a standard black fabric, but other hood options include a deep infinite blue and turquoise emerald, even a topaz monogram, if this isn't to your taste. The soft-top design itself, developed in partnership with specialists Webasto, is a bit more complicated than it looks, made up of over 180 different parts and electrically operated by a button on the overhead console that works to 3 main settings: intermediate, horizontal and total, all of which, impressively, are accessible at any speed up to 75 miles an hour. Now, prodding the button once will slide the canvas back so it concertinas like a busker's accordion above a rear screen, which, if you continue to press the button, will hinge forward onto the parcel shelf before the folded canvas sandwich motors back to take its place. As with the folding tops provided by most rivals, you'll find that when retracted, this one almost totally blocks rearward vision, hence the standard parking sensors. The roof acrobatics take only 16 seconds from start to finish, and when the whole thing's open, there's a pop-up wind deflector that springs out of the top roof rail to quell the worst of the turbulence. Of course, when you do have the roof down, you don't want it to take up so much space at the back that there's no room for people or packages. On this DS3 Cabrio, it doesn't. Take rear cargo space, accessible via a cantilevered boot lid that rises neatly outwards and upwards in a circular motion that means you can open it even when you're parked close to obstructions. And it's unfortunate that once it is open, the aperture available is pretty small, although actually the capacity on offer is greater than it first appears, 245 litres in all, just 40 litres less than you get in the ordinary hatch version. Now that's 30 litres more than you get in a rival MINI Convertible and 63 litres more than you get in an equivalent Fiat 500c. Plus, you can extend it by folding down the same 40/60 split folding rear bench that you'll find on a DS3 hatch, revealing up to 980 litres. Time to take a seat inside. Now, how will this car make you feel when you slip behind the wheel? Well, pretty smug and self-satisfied, we think, if you're moving into it from cheaper small convertibles like the Fiat 500c or the Smart 4.2 Cabrio. True, the design no longer feels quite as cutting edge as it once did, but the high-quality cabin ambiance that's always marked out this DS3 remains, with its piano black trimming and cool white lighting. Plusher models get high-quality stitched leather on the door cards and the steering wheel, and if you're prepared to pay a bit more, you can have the upholstery finished in the lovely quilted watch strap leather that gives the interior, well, a classier feel than anything else in the segment. The dashboard gets a soft touch fascia top finish, although scratchier plastics are used further down. Still, nice detailing distracts your attention from that as you admire the polished metal highlights and the beautifully detailed instrument gauges. These are set into a trio of circular dials in a motif that appears again in the round clusters of ventilation controls on the centre console. You can colour match that to your own personal choice. More importantly, with the exception of the optional armrest that slightly impedes the handbrake, the overall layout remains ergonomically sound, that upmarket feel further emphasised by this small, grippy, leather-covered steering wheel that feels really good to hold. The key change made as part of this model's move into full DS branding was the addition of this smart 7-inch colour touchscreen. It's a standard item across the range and has played a significant part in decluttering the dash. Its functionality removing no fewer than 21 buttons from the fascia. It's a pity though that it can't be activated by the kind of rotary controller you get on, say, a rival MINI Convertible. Otherwise, it works well, marshalling audio, telephone and driving trip computer functions, along with the eMyWay navigation system where that's fitted. The touchscreen also enables the DS brand to offer a wide range of media connectivity connected services in this car, and not only an internet browser but also optional mirror screen functionality that provides access to the Mirror Link and Apple CarPlay systems, allowing you to duplicate the operation of your smartphone onto this display. Now, via Apple CarPlay, drivers can intuitively make calls, consult maps, listen to music and check their messages, either by using the Siri voice recognition technology or via the touchscreen. Plus, Android and iOS users will want to download a clever My DS app that will update you on your car's fuel economy, its service schedule and even its parking location. Plus, Android users can listen to and send text messages via that app. And finally, a word on practicalities. It's a pity that there are no proper cup holders and that the glove box is so small. Still, you do get a cubby in front of the gear stick and another hidden away by your right knee, plus space for your smartphone under the handbrake near the 12-volt aux-in and USB sockets. Time to move into the back. Getting into the back isn't quite as easy as it would be in a full-blown soft top like a MINI Convertible, because you have to duck under the roof pillar as you would in any three-door hatchback. Once you're there, though, there's an unusual bonus. This is the only model in its class and one of the very few convertibles you can buy that can actually take 3 people across the back seat, which for a family buyer with 3 children suddenly opens up potential ownership of this kind of car. Such a customer simply couldn't have considered a drop top before. True, space is fairly tight back here, but it's okay for short journeys and it'll be fine for kids. Expect to pay somewhere in the £18,000 to £25,000 bracket for your DS3 Cabrio, so you're looking at a £2,300 premium over the fixed top version that many will assume this car is at first glance. And if you want an automatic, you have to choose the PureTech 110 petrol engine, which is offered the brand's E86 auto technology at a £1,500 premium. A few details on the range. Entry-level chic trim comes only with the base Blue HDI 100 diesel engine, but most buyers opt to pay the extra £500 for mid-range elegance spec that gives you far more choice beneath the bonnet, as well as that auto option I just mentioned. The standard choice is the PureTech 110 petrol engine, but for another £500 you can have that 3-cylinder 1.2 litre unit in Pokia 130 bhp form, or for a tad more get the Blue HDI 100 diesel. If you want to spoil yourself though, you'll want the Prestige trim we're trying here, with variants priced in the £21,000 to £22,000 bracket. Well, at this level, there are again 2 petrol options, this time these being the 3-cylinder PureTech 130 unit or the rortier 4-cylinder THP 165 power plant. Or you could opt for the variant that we're trying here, That's a pokier 120 bhp version of the Blue HDI diesel engine. That leaves only the ultimate DS Cabrio, the performance model, which demands a budget starting from around £23,000 and comes only with the THP turbo petrol engine and 208 bhp guys. So, having introduced you to the DS3 Cabrio range, we also need to brief you on its value proposition. It's actually rather more of a unique proposition in the small Cabrio market than you might think. A little larger and more powerful than only slightly less expensive open-top cars in this segment, like the Fiat 500c or the Vauxhall Adam Rocks Air, and a fraction more affordable than only slightly larger compact cabrios, like the MINI Convertible and Volkswagen's Beetle Cabriolet. To be specific, a plush Fiat 500c might cost you £1,000 or so less than a comparable base DS3 Cabrio. A base soft-top Mini or Beetle might set you back £1,000 or so more. So really, it all comes down to what you want. But it is worth saying that none of the rivals we've just mentioned give you the option of being able to take 3 people across the back seat in the way that this DS does. Now that could make all the difference to family buyers wanting to use this as a stylish, affordable second car. Overall, we can understand how this DS3 Cabrio's smart looks, its more spacious cabin and its greater scope for individualisation might leave you opting for one. In that case, whichever variant you choose, you should find your car to be decently equipped. Even the entry-level chic version comes with alloy wheels of at least 16 inches in size, LED daytime running lights, 3D LED rear lamps, sport suspension, an alarm and powered mirrors painted to match roof colour. Inside there's air conditioning, a multifunction trip computer, a leather-covered multifunction steering wheel and cruise control with a built-in speed limiter to keep your licence safe in urban zones. An integrated air freshener is another nice touch, and infotainment's dealt with by a 7-inch colour touchscreen from which you can control a 6-speaker DAB stereo and activate Bluetooth phone connectivity and media streaming. Cabrio customers also get the rear parking sensors that are lacking from the standard tally of the fixed top version. As we mentioned earlier, though, it's likely that most potential buyers are going to want to find the relatively small extra premium to upgrade to mid-range elegance spec. Now here, as well as getting a wider engine choice, you can expect to find LED front fog lights and dark-tinted rear windows. Inside, there's more sophisticated automatic air conditioning and a greater premium feel, courtesy of sports seats, gloss black dashboard trimming and aluminium sports pedals. Our favourite feature, though, standard on this car from elegance trim upwards, is the DS Connect box, and that really is very clever. It incorporates the kind of SOS and assistance functionality that we're now reasonably familiar with, there to automatically summon the emergency services if the airbags go off. Some of the other Connect box features, though, may be new to you. An included monitoring pack, for example, that gives you a virtual instrument manual. It can advise you of forthcoming service appointments, and it'll give you eco-driving tips. Then there's the mapping pack that can be set to email you if your DS3 leaves a given geographical area. Useful, well, very useful if, say, you lend your car to your son or daughter. Also included is a tracking function that'll give the police your vehicle's location if it's stolen. It's the finishing touch to a very complete package, but of course you can always go further. The next spec level up is Prestige trim, and that's what we're trying here. This upgrades you to larger 17-inch alloy wheels and the brand's distinctive DS LED vision headlights. Plus you get power folding mirrors, auto headlamps and wipers, a rear spoiler, front parking sensors and a space-saver spare wheel rather than a fiddly tyre repair kit. Inside there's upgraded leather for the steering wheel, and that's also carried over onto the door trim. Plus there's an auto-dimming rear-view mirror, the audio system gets a hi-fi upgrade, and eMyWay satellite navigation is standard. The performance flagship variant is, as you would expect, more dynamically orientated. Key features including DS Performance Sport Suspension with a wider track, sports exhaust and grippier DS Performance seats. Now, hopefully everything I've just said will help you narrow down your ideal DS3 Cabrio trim level, but That is just a starting point with a car as deeply wedded to the concept of automotive personalisation as this one is. Apparently, there are over 3 million possible combinations of colour, trim and interior fabric. Fortunately, DS groups these into various packs to make the process more manageable. But even so, you'll need to be ready for the fact that creating your ideal DS3 could be a lengthy process. The starting point is to select a primary paint colour, and there are flat, metallic or pearlescent finishes. Whichever shade you choose, you get a matching key fob. You've then to match your chosen shade with an appropriate roof colour. Now here we've got the standard black finish, but other hood shade options include a deep infinite blue, a turquoise emerald and topaz monogram if this isn't to your taste. You can then further complete the exterior effect by choosing from a range of stylised 16 or 17-inch alloy wheels. There's also the option of chromed door mirrors, chromed rear window lower trim and a DS Performance exterior graphics kit. Typical buyers will take equal care in specifying the interior. Now for the upholstery, there's a choice of either cloth or Alcantara or one of the leather packs. Go for this model's prestige trim and you can have what is something of a DS brand signature feature, a lovely watch strap leather finish for the seats. You can decorate the dash too. This car, for example, has what DS calls an irresistible Paris kit, which gives you a matte grey dashboard strip with a Paris motif. So, very chic. Alternatively, the fascia can be enhanced with strips in gloss black, topaz, carbon fibre or matte grey. You might also want to look at the Luxe pack that surrounds the instrument cluster with stitched leather and includes a leather gear knob, a perforated Napa leather sports steering wheel and premium carpet mats. As for less aesthetically orientated features, well, bear in mind that many of the items I was talking about with the plusher trim levels can be individually ordered as options lower down the range. Again, there are various packs to make the process easier. For example, if you go for the elegant spec that we'd recommend, you can create much of the high-tech premium feel you'd find in a pricier prestige variant by adding in a comfort pack and or a Nav Plus pack. Across the range, many owners will also want to pay the small extra amount that DS charges to add in mirror screen functionality, this allowing you to replicate the operation of your smartphone onto the central dash infotainment display. And finally, we'll mention the fact that most buyers of the top performance model will want the optional GT pack, and that gives them sat-nav, front parking sensors and a reversing camera, a hi-fi upgrade and the active city brake safety setup. Yes, the active city brake system. I was coming to that. It's the major safety upgrade made to this car, though it's only standard if you can stretch to one of the pricey prestige variants. Now this is one of those autonomous braking systems that scans the road ahead as you drive in search of potential accident hazards, in this case with speeds of up to 18 miles an hour. If one's detected, then you'll be warned. If you don't respond, or perhaps you aren't able to, the brakes will automatically be applied to decrease the severity of any resulting accident and hopefully alleviate it altogether. Now, unfortunately, the age of this design precludes the installation of other sophisticated electronic assistance features, such as those you'd find in some rivals, things like driver fatigue detection features or lane departure warning setups. Still, all the familiar safety items are standard, things like twin front, side and curtain airbags, ISOFIX child seat fastenings and tyre pressure monitoring. You can also expect to find ABS braking with emergency braking assistance to help in panic stops, and those are advertised to following motorists by automatically activating hazard warning lights. Plus you get ESP stability control across the range to help if you enter a corner too fast or you're on a slippery surface. And there's hill start assist to stop you drifting backwards on uphill junctions. Under the bonnet, almost everything has changed with this car since its original launch back in 2013. Then the range was built around previous generation PSA group units, EHDI diesels and old tech VTI petrol power plants. But even before this design switched to DS branding, these have been largely phased out. What we now have instead is a far more frugal portfolio of options based primarily around 1.2 litre 3-cylinder PureTech petrol units and a range of 1.6 litre Blue HDI diesels. For For this redeveloped car, the engineers have also upgraded the performance-minded end of the range. The model's using the older BMW-developed 1.6-litre THP petrol turbo engine. With these tweaks have not only increased power, but also enhanced efficiency. As you would expect in this day and age, all the power plants on offer are Euro 6 compatible, plus all are turbocharged, and they feature Eco engine stop and start system. You might also want to know that for most variants there's no running cost penalty in opting for this Cabrio body style over an equivalent fixed top DS3. The exception, for no reason we can really explain, is the base Blue HDI 100 diesel. Here you're looking at 80.7 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 92 grams per kilometre of CO2 in a Cabrio, as opposed to 83.1 miles per gallon and 87 grams per kilometre in the tin top model. Otherwise, the efficiency stats across the range are identical, whatever body style of DS3 you choose. And that means the Pokia diesel, the Blue HDI 120 derivative we're trying here, manages 78.5 miles per gallon and 94 grams per kilometre. If you want some perspective on that, directly comparable Mini Cooper D convertible manages 74.3 miles per gallon and 100 grams per kilometre. Equally class competitive are the PureTech 3-cylinder petrol engines. The PureTech 110 unit manages 65.7 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 100 grams per kilometre of CO2. And that's about the same as you get from a smaller 105 bhp twin-air Fiat 500c. These returns fall only slightly if you specify your DS3 with that engine mated to the E86 automatic gearbox. In that case, you're looking at 61.4 miles per gallon and 105 grams per kilometre. Even the Pokia DS3 PureTech 130 bhp variant does pretty well, managing 62.8 miles per gallon and 105 grams per kilometre. Again, to give you some perspective, comparable Mini Cooper convertible manages 57.6 miles per gallon and 114 grams per kilometre. So, how has all this been achieved? Well, with Blue HDI diesel technology, the answer lies in a clever three-step after-treatment system designed to better eliminate the four nasty pollutants that diesel units usually put out, namely unburnt hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide and particulates. The first stage sees those unwanted hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide elements converted into harmless water and carbon dioxide. In the second stage, that nasty nitrogen oxide also gets converted into water via a selective catalytic reduction process using urea and water mixture called AdBlue. Finally, in the third step, a particulate emissions filter virtually eliminates all particulates at a stroke. And the result of all this is industry-leading diesel technology that many manufacturers are struggling to copy. Equal effort has been put into the PureTech technology used in the 3-cylinder 1.2-litre turbo petrol unit. It's around 25% cleaner and more frugal than the old 1.6-litre VTI power plant it replaced. The gains achieved by lighter weight, engine stop and start technology, and a 30% reduction in mechanical losses due to friction. Internal friction has also been reduced further up the range with the Pokia 1.6-litre THP turbo petrol engines, which are a little more frugal than before. The returns here aren't quite as eye-catching if you compare against direct rivals, but they are a lot more competitive than this engine used to produce. Specifically, we're talking 50.4 miles per gallon and 129 grams per kilometre for the THP 165 model, and 52.3 miles per gallon and 125 grams per kilometre for the potent THP 210 flagship performance variant. What else? Well, to help owners get somewhere near the quoted returns on a regular basis, there's a gear shift indicator, plus you can benefit from a series of eco-driving tips provided by the DS Connect Box's monitoring pack. The trip computer readout on the central fascia infotainment screen even has an eco readout that can tell you how long the eco stop and start system has been functioning on any given journey. Although we're not really sure why you'd ever want to know that. Residuals won't be quite as strong as they would be if you'd gone for the open-top versions of the Mini or the Volkswagen Beetle, but then you would, in that case, almost certainly have paid more up front, so it's a case of swings and roundabouts. In any case, we think that this DS model's depreciation showing will improve as the brand gets more established in the market. The warranty is the usual unremarkable 3-year, 60,000 mile affair, although it is extendable for an extra 1 or 2 years at additional cost. You also get 3 years of DS roadside assistance and a 12-year anti-corrosion warranty. Service intervals are every 16,000 miles for mainstream models or every 20,000 miles for the pokier THP petrol models. You can keep on top of your car's maintenance schedule via a downloadable My DS app that'll also update you on your car's fuel economy. Finally, let's talk about insurance. Expect the ratings to be, on average, about 3 groups higher for this Cabrio body style than they would be for a normal fixed-top DS3. So we'll give you the specific soft-top ratings. For the PureTech 110 turbo engine, you're looking at Group 21A, and the PureTech 130 is Group 24A. On to the pokier 1.6-litre THP models. The THP 165 is rated at either 30A or 31A. If you go for the hot hatch performance variant, then you're looking at Group 39D. We'll finish with the Blue HDI diesels. The Blue HDI 100 is rated at Group 23A. This Blue HDI 120 variant pitches in at Group 28A. We live in a country where it can rain for 200 days in a year. Now, even if you can make a rational argument for owning a convertible in such a climate, it might be difficult to justify carting around the heavy, bulky Cabrio roof that such a car will need, a top that, when folded, will minimise both boot space and rear passenger room. With this DS3 Cabrio, though, the downsides have been minimised. Here's a convertible that makes real sense for the part of the world that we live in. You can see why it struck such a chord with its customers. Even today, the basic shape looks fresh and fashionable, and it's now personalisable to an extent that simply isn't possible with many rivals. Plus, the subtle DS-branded restyle is just enough to keep the design feeling current. We approve of the more fundamental changes made here too. The PureTech 130 petrol engine, the more dynamic performance variant, and the 7-inch infotainment colour touchscreen for the cabin with its extra media connectivity. These build on the changes already made to this car towards the end of its life as a Citroën, things like the active city brake system and the frugal Blue HDI diesel technology. It all means, in summary, that if you think you know this DS3 Cabrio, then you probably don't. The brand letters stand for a different spirit, and this car now aims to offer just that. Of course, it's not designed to suit someone really intent on getting the full al fresco experience. The looks don't shout convertible, and there are still door pillars to look past. But if you're okay with that, and you just want to feel the sun once in a while without the wobbling bodywork, the practical compromises, and the awkward styling of most small cabriolets, then this car could be exactly what you've been looking for.